So we're on week 3 of the watercolour project, and I thought today I would thought I'd have a look go at part of this. I can't get very far into it, but I'll get a little way in. So the idea is to practice some of the washes that I showed you or that we were looking at the last couple of weeks. So there's the flat washes, graded washes, wet and wet washes. They're the main ones. So I've got a few copies of this particular image if anybody wants to use this one. And I've also printed out a few of this one as well, which I thought it's a similar sort of image, bit of building and landscape. So there's a few of those as well. I thought to start with, I'll just do a little bit of drawing, just for anybody who needs a little bit of drawing. This was the wet and wet project from last week, so that's that one just as a recap. Well, so next week will be the last week of the project. The project for April is still live, and I was thinking maybe next week, if anybody wanted to, well, I've got more images you can use if you want to carry on landscapes in watercolour, but if you want to have a few objects, like painting objects, still life objects in watercolour, that'd be quite a nice sort of lead into the new project.
So still life, but in watercolour.
Yeah, just simple things like maybe a few bits of fruit or mushrooms or cups, just maybe studies of objects. Anything you fancy. So just to give you a bit of a heads up. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of the drawing. I've got a one I've already drawn out somewhere, which I've lost. Here we go. So I'll use that as the demo in a minute. I was thinking, one or two people found this a little bit of a challenge to draw. The way I go about drawing this little building, and this is St Peter's on the Wall in Bradwell, which is the oldest church in Britain, I believe. So, but the main thing in terms of drawing this is make sure your image, you're square onto it. So ideally have it on the same sort of plane as whatever you're drawing. And then you can then start to judge some of these angles of the roof, because that's square on. Sometimes it helps to pop a line down the middle, and then once you've kind of drawn out to here, the roof very slightly changes angle just at the end there. And then that way you can make sure you've got the same sort of equidistance for each wall. That looks a bit out. And then so basically, sometimes a few guidelines can help just to get the structure of the building right. With this, then going on to the roof and the sides, the ridge of the roof, there'll be a little bit of an angle like that. So basically my eye level is down here, so that would sort of come down to a vanishing point here. And then this one, again, just a tiny bit of an angle, not much of an angle, but there'll be a little bit of an angle going up that way. And if you're not seeing the angles, I find it helps to just pop my pencil alongside these bits, and then you see the angle of the pencil. I did have a few people this morning that were drawing it kind of like a bit like that, which isn't how to see on it really. But that may be how you believe it is. But yeah, you want to be seeing something a little bit more like that, and then onto the side. And then the rest is fairly easy to follow. Sort of see how far down the horizon is. This window is just slightly below the level of these two bits, so that will start about there, and then to kind of construct that. And then it's just sort of following it through with the shrubs and so on. So that's the drawing side of it. For anybody who just needs to look at that, just take that away if you can. Onto the painting, as I say, I've drawn one out already, just to make it a little bit easier. With this particular image, it's really important to try and get the relative tones. So which bit do you think is the brightest bit on that?
Roof.
You think the roof's the brightest?
The grass on the sidewalks, yes.
Grass here, yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah, I think this bit and this bit, to me, looks the brightest. I was trying to work out whether the sky was darker or lighter than that, and I think that is a little bit lighter. It's difficult to tell. What I was suggesting to the morning group is maybe what you could do is if you've got a phone camera, you could take a picture on your phone and have a look at it in black and white, put it on black and white filter on, and just see which bit comes out lighter and darker. And that's quite a good way of just reducing down the tones. I could have printed one out black and white, but I didn't think to do that at the time. But that's a good way of, yeah. Well, I didn't think of it until this morning. Yeah. So that's a good way of just working out the tone. The other thing is like certain colours. I mean, this is pretty much a flat wash, so that's good practicing flat washes. Or if you want to change the sky, put some clouds in, we could have a go at that. This bit is very, very pale, and I think I've got the colours left from this morning actually. So this was the sort of colour I came up with this morning, I think. It's also a really good idea to have a bit of scrap somewhere, just to try things out on.
Cool. Just sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
In Notan, actually, the sky is lighter than the sidewalk.
It's lighter. Yeah, it is actually, isn't it? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's hard. It's really hard, isn't it? So that would be a tiny bit darker than that. Yeah.
I would have said,
Yeah. You'd have said the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Skies lighter,
Yeah. So yeah. So this sort of colour here, I think maybe a little bit yellow. A little bit more yellow with that. And just going to use this brush, just dim that down a little bit. I think that's going to be alright. It's a little bit darker as you come down anyway, but I just want to get something on there. But it's important to keep that really pale because that is very light. That can be that area. I'm actually going to dampen this area down the bottom as well. Because when I painted that this morning, I had a sort of bit of rough, hard edge where it's drying. So just keep all that bit a little bit dark because it'll probably get that colour in there and this here. So that's the pale yellow, and it's a little bit pinker both here and here. So I can add that pinky colour into that yellow and a bit of pink. Try that down there first. Yep, that should be right. Just keep that fairly light. I think I'll use the same colour just in here. Just get the bottom of those four bits. And then leave that at that. The sky, because my board is very vertical, if I put the blue on here, it will just run straight into that. So I'm going to turn it upside down to paint that. And hopefully that won't run too far. So I've got blue here that I've mixed with a little bit of cobalt and a little bit of cerulean. And I'm going to start here and work my way down. I'm actually going to start it a little bit warmer. So I'm changing it a little bit from this. I'm going to put a little bit of pinky yellow there to start with. Sometimes you find that the sky might be a little bit warmer here. Start with that, and then change to the blue. Let that run in. So I'm using this brush because it's a bit easier to control. Actually go back to that colour there. Back to the blue. So while it's wet, I can just keep, while I've got a wet edge, it's quite easy to keep that quite nice and strong. I'll make that colour a little bit stronger now, so I'm adding a little bit more blue. I don't want that to dry out. I'm going to use a bigger brush. So I can now work that in. Get stronger. few bits coming up. So that will give me a fairly flat wash. If I wanted to put some sort of lighter clouds in there, what I could do is wash one of these brushes out, dry it out, and then this is sort of lifting area colour out. So I can just go in with basically a damp brush, and then I then need to wash that and dry this again. That way I could give the impression of perhaps some clouds running across by just slightly lifting some colour out. It's best not to overdo it. Don't want it to overwork. So that's that one. The one I did this morning, lost again. I did the similar sort of thing, but used a big brush. Yeah, so that would be. Basically, that's about as much as I can do for the minute. I really need that to dry now, and then I could go in and perhaps paint the building. But basically, the idea is going lighter colours and then gradually working darker. So working the darker layers. Any questions? Okay, right, great stuff. Right, let's see how you do. Give that a little dry there.